Alright, let's try that again, shall we? Hi, I'm Gowie, and welcome back to a devlog for my short horror game. It's been quite a while since I started this project, and yeah, as you can see from the last video, there's been ups and downs, obviously, but I'm holding strong. As you heard last time, there's now a finish date that I've set for myself. I'm not sure if I'm gonna qualify it as a release date just yet, but I'm looking to at least get all of the game in a 1.0 state, even if it's scuffed on that date. As you can tell, probably, the date is specifically 1 year since I started this project. That's where I want to end it. Giving myself this restriction has affected my motivation, of course. I've been changing up plans mostly, since before I was sort of making whatever came to my mind and whatever I felt like working. And now I'm focusing on an organization on more of a global level. You know, place everything in a way so that I can work on stuff one at a time without worrying that I'm gonna run out of time. Right, here's it's a bit of a diagram that I made to get an idea in my head of how I wanted to structure stuff. It's not anything professional. I just really wanted to make sure I had stuff in order that made sense to me, so that I could work towards completing it. As you can see, there's stuff that's going to be more on the back end. It's all going to be all of the logic that's required by the game to be a game, of course. And then this is mostly going to be all of the stuff that the player is going to interact with and see. At the end, there's the scenario and story that I've prepared that will be the defining part of the experience. And that's what I've been, well, at least. Then there's the bugs, but that's for later, so I'll worry about it later. Now, I won't be able to show it here, but another thing that I've taken the time to do was make a whole Google Doc. And that Google Doc was specifically made for defining everything that I'm going to have in the game and in what order it appears. It's also part of what's going to be the scenario and this basic script for the story. And it's been really interesting concentrating more on the story and the order of the story, because when I finally put all the ideas that have been floating in my head on paper, it requires a part of the brain that hasn't been worked or hasn't been tweaked at by other parts of developing this game. So yeah, I really like the creative part of that work and how I'm getting to put all of my feelings and the sentiment that I want to get across to the player in this game through that. On a more technical level, I'm aiming to get everything functional and completed first. So all of the functions of obviously the player playing and the menus and so on, all of the little parts that I need so that the story can indeed progress. I'm aiming to get all of that down first before I can then move on to polishing what I have. As you can see throughout the scene, I've been putting even more placeholders, and it really helps me get an idea of what's needed to be done still in the scene. My recent coding adventures have revolved around a system I wanted to implement, which was what I called the zone tracker. And so this zone tracking system, it's obviously very explicit, right? It tracks where the player is and where the player has been, and I can then use that information and further elements of the story that I want to set up, or if there's different events and stuff. So the way I've got it set up right now is I've got plenty of transition bodies that are scattered at the intersections between different defined zones, and if I want a behavior to change between one zone and the other, that's determined, well, when the player enters one of these collision boxes right here. When that happens, there's an event that's raised that's sent to the global zone tracker, and that zone tracker then relays the information that needs to be known to all of the other elements to listen to where the player is. So for example, I have completely reworked the way the reverb zones work. It's not as horrendously scuffed as it used to be. Now, instead, there's one script that is controlling when all of the reverbs are either on or off, and it's all being informed by where the player is, which is tracked by the zone tracker, of course. I have a better example, or at least a better way to visualize how the system works, because the thing that I haven't told you yet is that in between these colliders, when the player is in between entering and exiting, so passing through, there is a value that is being sent to the zone tracker, which determines how much the player is through one zone and to the next. And from that, I can then relay that to everyone else that wants to listen to it. And so, for example, on screen you can see there's an annoying little pink churno on the bottom left, and I've set it so that whenever this little churno enters or detects that the player has entered a different room, it will then interpolate between different colors. As you can see, it becomes transparent when it is a zone that is not defined, and when it changes to other zones, it changes colors accordingly. And you can probably hear it as well. Oh no, you can't. That's on me. Alright, you can probably hear it as well. The player's footsteps are being affected by different reverb zones, because of course I've implemented the reverb zone system to work with the zone tracker system. Now you may be wondering why I would have made something so complicated, and the main reason right now is going to be for the background music. So the way I've got my background music set up, I'm going to be interpolating between different tracks depending on which room the player is in. I've been tweaking with this effect quite a bit, but I've got it working really nicely and I'm really proud of the result. I'm of course using the background music that's been provided to me by the person I'm collaborating with, and I can't wait. I won't show it now, but I can't wait for other people to see it in the full version of the game. Other than that, of course, it's just the usual reworks and behind the scenes stuff that is too boring for me to show. But yeah, I'm polishing everything up, making sure it all works, so that once I've got everything working and the story can be progressed through the way it's intended to be, then I can work on making everything pretty and polished. That's pretty much it. I'm going to be mostly waiting patiently for the next Unity 2021.2 update, because if I could show you here, yep, that's an error right there. If I try to turn on gizmos in game view, Unity just has a stroke and it's still going. Luckily, that's nothing to be worried about. I've looked it up and other people have been running into it, and it's going to be fixed with the next patch. If you made it this far, I'm gonna thank you for keeping up with me. I'm sorry about the last video, and yeah, hopefully next videos are going to be more interesting, although I'm not sure how much of it I can make interesting, since it's all going to be either functional stuff or spoiler heavy stuff. But until then, take care. I'll see you then. Cheers.